Enjoy this movie, then visit BrainPop.com for much more. Oh, serving lady, prithee, come hence and fetch another flagon of cola. Oh man, this is so much better than a regular restaurant. There's knights and princesses and jousting. Jousting movie. Wait, where? Oh no. Dear Tim and Moby, what were the Middle Ages? From Alex. Well, Alex, the Middle Ages, or the medieval era, was a period of European history that lasted from about the 5th century to the 15th century CE. Okay, let's back up. For the first 500 years or so of the first millennium, most of Europe was united under the rule and protection of the Roman Empire. But when Rome fell in the 5th century, everything changed. For a while, European tribes migrated from one area to another, but they eventually settled down, establishing small, independent kingdoms. The big, open cities of the Roman world were replaced by smaller towns, which were walled in to protect against invaders. They were a big problem back then, as Vikings from Scandinavia and Magyars from Hungary frequently staged deadly raids. Travel was dangerous, so shipping and commerce collapsed. Well, most people's lives revolved around producing enough food to feed themselves and their families. Since that usually involved farming, society was dominated by landowners. These guys were loosely tied to one another, and their kings, by the feudal system. It was pretty simple. Kings would grant large tracts of land to noblemen in exchange for promises of loyalty and protection. Since land was more valuable than money, wealth and power were concentrated among a handful of lords. Most other people were peasants who worked long hours farming and performing manual labor. The only unifying force in Europe was the Roman Catholic Church, and pretty much every king had to take orders from its leader, the Pope. If you disagreed with the Church, the punishment could be harsh, but it was the only real source of higher learning in Europe. Christian monks preserved ancient works of literature and philosophy by copying them by hand, and monasteries were the only places that had libraries. Yeah, life was pretty grim back then, which is why it's sometimes called the Dark Ages. But as time went on, things began to change. First off, a few great leaders arose. In the 8th and 9th centuries, Charles the Great, or Charlemagne, united territories in modern-day France, Germany, and Italy, leading to a brief flowering of art, culture, and learning. And William the Conqueror, who ruled a French territory called Normandy, invaded England in 1066 and became its king. But nothing changed medieval Europe like a series of wars called the Crusades. These were fought between European Christians and Muslims from North Africa and the Middle East. Right, the religion of Islam was founded in the 7th century in the Arabian Peninsula. By 750, Muslim rulers controlled everything from modern-day Spain to Pakistan, creating one of the largest empires in history. This era is sometimes called the Islamic Golden Age. Muslim scholars preserved knowledge from Greece and Rome and made major advances in medicine, chemistry, astronomy, and optics. Great mosques were built, and the arts and sciences flourished. But this expansion made many Christians nervous. Well, besides making inroads into Europe, the Muslims conquered modern Israel, which Christians considered sacred territory. So, in 1095, the Pope urged Europeans to take up arms and reclaim the Holy Land for Christianity. The Crusaders captured the city of Jerusalem and even established new Christian kingdoms in the Middle East. It wasn't a permanent victory, though. The two sides fought over the territory for the next 200 years, and by the end of the 13th century, the Muslims had reconquered it all. But even though they ultimately failed, the Crusades had a huge influence on European society. Well, they opened up trade between Europe and Asia, leading to the rise of a new merchant class. And the expansion of trade led to advances in shipbuilding and exploration as Europeans sought new sea routes to Asia. As the middle class expanded, European cities became important economic and cultural centers, and their populations began growing. These cities often featured great new churches called cathedrals, built in the towering, ornate Gothic style. Right, the Crusades also led to intellectual growth as Islamic knowledge and technology made its way to Europe. Soon, the first European universities were founded in cities like Paris, France, and Oxford, England. Eventually, the Renaissance, a new era of culture and learning, began in Italy, and the Middle Ages ended as it spread through the rest of Europe. Right, except in this restaurant, where the medieval era never ended. Hooray for plague, illiteracy, and dueling knights.
Visit us at brainpop.com for more on this topic and hundreds of others. You'll find movies, games, quizzes, and activities. Learn more about the difference BrainPop can make.